From the beginning, the Ayatollah regime has broken every international norm and flouted every international rule. It seized embassies, it has targeted diplomats, it sent its own children through minefields, it hangs gays, it stones women, it supports Assad's brutal slaughter of the Syrian people. It is the world's foremost sponsor of terrorism. It sponsors Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and terrorists throughout the Middle East, Africa, even South America. And Iran's proxies have dispatched hundreds of suicide bombers. They've planted thousands of roadside bombs, and they fired over 20,000 missiles at civilians. So through terror from the skies and terror on the ground, Iran is responsible for the murder of hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans. In 1983, Iran's proxy Hezbollah blew up the Marine barracks in Lebanon, killing 241 U.S. Marines. In the last decade, it's been responsible for murdering and maiming American soldiers in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Just a few months ago, it tried to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States. This is in a restaurant just a few blocks from here. The assassins didn't care that several senators and congressmen would have been murdered in the process. Iran accuses, this is real chutzpah, Iran accuses the American government of orchestrating 9/11. And that's as brazen as denying the Holocaust, which they do. And Iran calls for Israel's destruction, and they work for this destruction. They work for this every day, each day, relentlessly. Now, I say all that to make one point clear. This is how Iran behaves today without nuclear weapons. Think of how they'll behave tomorrow with nuclear weapons. Iran will be even more reckless and a lot more dangerous. Now, there's been plenty of talk recently about the cost of stopping Iran. I think it's time we started talking about the cost of not stopping Iran. A nuclear-armed Iran would dramatically increase terrorism by giving terrorists a nuclear umbrella. Let me try to explain to you what that means, a nuclear umbrella. It means that Iran's terror proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas will be emboldened to attack the United States and Israel and others because they'll be backed by a power that has atomic bombs. So the terrorism we see today could grow tenfold, if not more. A nuclear-armed Iran could choke off the world's oil supply. It could make real its threat to close the Straits of Hormuz. Now, if you're worried about the price of oil today, imagine how high oil prices could get once Iran, a nuclear-armed Iran, starts blackmailing the world. Then you'll really have a problem with oil prices. And if Iran gets nuclear weapons, this would set off a mad dash by Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, and others to acquire nuclear weapons of their own. The world's most volatile region would become a nuclear tinderbox waiting to go off. And here's the worst nightmare of all. With nuclear weapons, Iran could threaten all of us with nuclear terrorism. It could put a nuclear device in a ship heading to any port or in a truck parked in any city anywhere in the world. I want you to think about what it would mean to have nuclear weapons in the hands of these radicals who lead millions of people in chants of death to America. and death to Israel. I want you to think about all that, and I'm sure that when you do, you'll reach a simple conclusion. For the sake of our prosperity, for the sake of our security, for the sake of our children, Iran must not be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons. Now, of course, the best outcome would be if Iran decided to abandon its nuclear weapons program peacefully. No one would be happier than me and the people of Israel if Iran dismantled its program. But so far, that hasn't happened. For 15 years, I've been warning that a nuclear-armed Iran is a grave danger to my country and to the peace and security of the entire world. For the last decade, the international community has tried diplomacy. It hasn't worked. For 6 years, the international community has applied sanctions. That hasn't worked either. I appreciate President Obama's recent efforts to impose even tougher sanctions against Iran. And these sanctions are hurting Iran's economy. But unfortunately, Iran's nuclear program continues to march forward. My friends, Israel has waited, patiently waited, for the international community to resolve this issue. We've waited for diplomacy to work. We've waited for sanctions to work. None of us can afford to wait much longer. As Prime Minister of Israel, I will never let my people live in the shadow of annihilation. Ladies and gentlemen, some commentators would have you believe that stopping Iran from getting the bomb is more dangerous than letting Iran have the bomb. They say that a military confrontation with Iran would undermine the efforts already underway, that it would be ineffective, and that it would provoke an even more vindictive response by Iran. I've heard these arguments before. In fact, I've read them before. In my desk, I have copies of an exchange of letters between the World Jewish Congress and the U.S. War Department. Here are the letters. The year was 1944. The World Jewish Congress implored the American government to bomb Auschwitz. The reply came 5 days later. I want to read it to you. Quote, "Such an operation could be executed only by diverting considerable air support essential to the success of our forces elsewhere. And in any case, it would be of such doubtful efficacy that it would not warrant the use of our resources." And my friends, here's the most remarkable sentence of all, and I quote, "Such an effort might provoke even more vindictive action by the Germans. Think about that. Than the Holocaust. My friends, 2012 is not 1944. The American government today is different. It's different. You heard that in President Obama's speech yesterday. But here's my point. The Jewish people are also different. Today we have a state of our own, and the purpose of the Jewish state is to defend Jewish lives and to secure the Jewish future. Never again will the Jewish people be powerless and supplicants for our fate and our very survival. Never again. That is why Israel must always have the ability to defend itself by itself against any threats. My friends, we deeply appreciate the great alliance between our two countries. But when it comes to Israel's survival, we must always remain the masters of our fate. Ladies and gentlemen, Israel's fate is to continue to be the forward position of freedom in the Middle East. The only place in the Middle East where minorities enjoy full civil rights. The only place in the Middle East where Arabs enjoy full civil rights. Over 1 million citizens, Arab citizens of Israel, who enjoy full and equal civil rights. The only place in the Middle East where Christians are free to practice their faith. The only place in the Middle East where real judges protect the rule of law. And as Prime Minister of Israel, I will always protect Israel's democracy. Always. And most especially, I will never tolerate any discrimination against women. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we'll read how one woman changed Jewish history. In synagogues throughout the world, the Jewish people will celebrate the festival of Purim. We will read how some 2,500 years ago, a Persian anti-Semite tried to annihilate the Jewish people. We will read how that plot was foiled by one courageous woman, Esther. Well, you can applaud Esther. She deserved a little more. My friends, in every generation, there are those who wish to destroy the Jewish people. In this generation, we are blessed to live in a time when there's a Jewish state capable of defending the Jewish people. And we're doubly blessed to have so many friends like you, Jews and non-Jews alike, who love the state of Israel and support its right to defend itself. So as I leave you tonight, I thank you for your friendship. I thank you for your courage. And I thank you for standing up for the one and only Jewish state. Thank you all. Thank you, and happy Purim.